You know, there's been a lot of talk in the news lately about Sydney Sweeney and her good genes, but we're not talking about double Ds today. We're talking about dual motors and the brand new Model Y Performance. New battery pack, new screen, new wheels, tires, sway bars, and even different drive modes that are specific only to the Model Y Performance. Tesla has lent me this vehicle. I'm going to show you all the differences. I'm going to drive it, and then I'm going to talk about how it differs from the Model 3 Performance and the regular Model Y to see if it is worth it. The starting price on this is $57,490, and that is a bargain for what you get. Let's get into it. We'll start right on the exterior, which has a bespoke front bumper to the Model Y Performance. So now we have a front splitter that actually protrudes out a little bit more than the Model Y Premium. So you have this beveled plastic along here, but then you also have this piano black plastic along here and here as well to these slits that let air move over the wheels more efficiently. Now, when you come onto the tires and the wheels and tires, these are not a forged wheel, but this is a cast aluminum wheel. So they're able to shed weight, but the manufacturing process isn't as stringent, which helps them cut costs a little bit. The Hankook Ion Evo all-season tire will come standard on this vehicle. They also developed a summer tire with Pirelli that you can get. You can't get it. You can't click a box or anything or specify from the factory. This is what it will come with. I like that it comes with the all seasons because if you take delivery of this up north, you're automatically going to have to put a winter tire or all season tire on it. So I actually like this. And this is a T1 specific tire. So this was developed with Hankook and Tesla to make sure it was getting the efficiency and performance out of it that they wanted, and I think that's really cool. You have your red brake calipers. Now, somewhere where this differs over the Model 3 Performance are the brake pads in here. If you have a Model 3 Performance, the brake pads on that thing are a track pad from the factory. This does not have that, which helps with brake dust and some squeakiness over time, but ultimately you're not going to have a ton of brake dust. You also have these wheel covers here, which can be removed. That will reduce efficiency a little bit, but essentially the reason they have this on here is so air moves perfectly across the sidewall of the tire and it's not sucked into this vortex here on the wheel. So I think it's a good looking wheel. I don't think it's a great looking wheel, but I think from the factory, it's a good start and I love the functionality of it. You also see it has the Quicksilver color here, and to the keen viewer will notice that we have a black mirror cap housing, which I've never seen Tesla change the mirror cap housing. Again, this is a performance model. You think BMW M's, Mercedes AMGs, things like that have the different mirror caps. So we finally have a specific mirror cap to the performance. We're up in some mountain scene here and it's cold. My hands are numb, but it makes me, this is why I think growing up in cold areas give you a personality, because you kind of have to beat each other up to get through it. And I'm feeling a little extra goofy today, so that's good. Now, the Model Y Performance has always had a staggered wheel setup. So you have 255s in the front. The Model Y Premium has also 255s in the front and back. But on the rear of this, you have 275 width tires. So you have a staggered wheel setup, and you have the 4DU drive unit in the rear of this. So it's the first time the 4DU unit has been put in a Model Y, and it's in the Model Y Performance. The other thing we have here around the back is this carbon fiber spoiler, which is very similar to the Model 3 Performance, but cleans up the airflow over the rear of the vehicle to help reduce lift at higher speeds. You also have the ludicrous badging here, and we have a functional rear diffuser. You can see a really aggressive diffuser. This sits out 1.5 inches or 2 inches over the trunk lid here, and I just think it looks so good. And they've also done a nice job of adding like this piano black here. So again, that piano black's going to get busted up over time. That is something I would put like paint protection film on. If you guys watch the channel, I always take my stuff to Dynamic Tint in Tempe, Arizona, and Tyler can do all of the trim pieces you want. So if you want to cover this in paint protection film, the spoiler to help protect it from UV rays or from rock chips on the front splitter, that is something that you could do. So I highly recommend Tyler. Plus, he's a Tesla approved vendor. So actually, when you buy your Model Y and it says, do you want to add paint protection film, Dynamic Tint will pop up and you can choose him, or you can go directly to his shop. It's totally up to you. But he's a friend of mine and just does excellent work. The other thing, we have this little slit right along here, also specific to the Model Y Performance. But overall, the stance of the vehicle, so this sits 6 inches off of the ground. Model Y Premium sits 6.6 inches off the ground. So it's about a ½ inch lower, and it just has a nice, aggressive stance to it. Now, with the previous Model Y, the issue was that it rode rough, it didn't get very good range, and they've addressed that with this. Like I talked about in the Model Y Standard, Tesla's no longer producing vehicles that don't get over 300 miles of range. So the battery in this has been upgraded to Panasonic's new unit. So they have a new cell. They were able to hollow out the cells and get 4.7% more energy density out of the same volume. Lars also went into some other details, but my brain just isn't powerful enough to compute what he was saying. He's also a very funny guy, so I really like Lars. Got to meet him and Franz earlier today, so that was cool. So what are the specs? 0 to 60, 3.3 seconds, which is 0.2 seconds faster than the previous version, 306 miles of range, and 18.7 kilowatt hours consumed per 100 miles, with a top speed of 155 miles per hour. So this is a 10.5% improvement over the previous EPA estimated range and a 6.6% improvement over the previous model for kilowatts per 100 miles. Now, on the inside of this vehicle, the one thing that I was worried about with the Performance Model Y are the bolstered seats. So these are heated and cooled seats. But you may notice right here, they have thigh support. So this button right here extends the thigh support or retracts it, which I think is a great feature. They have the black piping along here. And the other thing I was concerned about was the heavy bolstering. So they have the bolstering up on the sides here, but down on your thighs, it doesn't seem to be as aggressive as the Model 3 Performance. So you can ingress and egress easier out of the vehicle. Again, you have the ludicrous badging here. You do have the fixed headrest. I can't say enough how much I love these seats. Again, these are developed in-house from factory. A lot of companies will go to Recaro and things like that. Even the adaptive suspension that this thing has was all developed in-house. It's not like they go outside to Bilstein and then tune it to their vehicle. They develop it all in-house and go to the nth degree to make sure it fits the Model Y in the best way possible. The other thing they've upgraded is the screen here. So this is a 16-inch display. So it has 80% more pixels and is 1200 nits brighter than the outgoing version. So the outgoing version is 15.4 inches. This is 16 inches, and it's a little more squared off. And the other thing is there's more of a bezel down on this part of it. So basically, with them being able to upgrade the brightness on the screen and add more pixels, the blacks are blacker and more in depth, and they can just be more accurate with everything on the screen. Even the details, like they've always done a nice job of, like, look at the mirror caps. They're black. You have the red calipers. You have these Arachnid 2.0 wheels. Let's take a look at, we'll go to service and we'll go to wheel and tire. So yeah, 21-inch Arachnid 2.0 wheels. And if you click down, you could put the 20-inch helix. You could put the 18-inch aperture on these. So, ooh, what do we got here? The Maquinas. What do they look like? Wow. So anyways, you can change the wheels, and then you can have the tires. What season tire do you have? Winter, all season, or summer? So you have all of this within the car that will adjust the speedometer, and then the efficiency tracking. All of that can be adjusted within here. There's a lot to talk about here, but the basis is it's a bigger, brighter, and higher resolution screen, and I think it's a nice, subtle update to bring more to this vehicle. 306 miles of range is also something I'm pumped about, because I thought this was going to be like a 270 mile range vehicle, and it's just annoying. So they've done a nice job with that. When you open the door to a Model Y Performance, you'll notice carbon fiber trim on the door itself, which flows across the dashboard, which also has a carbon fiber piece that is the same in the Model 3 Performance. Again, just a nice performance touch, and this all flows to the pattern on the carbon fiber spoiler at the rear of the vehicle. Now, one massive thing on the infotainment here, we click into here and we go to dynamics. Normally in performance models, you have track mode. They have removed track mode from the Model Y Performance, but they have added launch mode. So if you click here, it shows you how to engage launch control with this, which I think is incredible. Now, the reason that they got rid of track mode is because they have the data on how much people are using this. So virtually no one was using track mode in the Model Y Performance. They were, however, using it when they got to an empty parking lot and wanted to do donuts, which is fine. So what they did is they've brought in stability assist and they've brought it to reduce. So people that own Model 3s and Model S Plaids, Model 3 Performance, Model S Plaid, they are taking it to the track. They are using track mode. But with track mode, you have to have the car stopped and put in park to turn it on. With this, you can just hit confirm and you are already in stability assist on reduce, so you can go do donuts in snowy parking lots or whatever you want to do. Essentially, there is so much that goes into adding track mode. There's so much NVH and loudness that goes on to bring cooling to the vehicle. And Lars essentially said in his presentation, look, if you want to take your car to the track, you need to get a Model 3 Performance, because the Model Y is supposed to be that do-it-all vehicle. That's why they sell more of these than anything in the world, is because there's still comfort built into this, but then you also have reduced stability. So if you want to screw around in a parking lot, you can do that. He also said that if you know what you're doing in terms of driving, it's not going to intervene in a way that would be annoying, but it's still there in the background for the inexperienced people, which most of us are, to save them in that emergency situation. So you have chill, standard, and sane. You can change your deceleration modes there, your ride and handling in standard and sport, and then your traction control right here, slippery surface, but then they also added stability assist, not replacing track mode, but to give you some ability to adjust the slip that you get within the vehicle. So I think that was well thought out based on statistics of users actually what are owners doing, and then going from there. I think that was good. Let's see. Go. She chirped her a little bit. I don't know if you could actually do donuts in this mode. I feel like it's going to click in. But that gave me the slip, a little extra that I wanted to get out of that parking lot and just have a little bit of fun, right? My boss is mean to me. My wife's mean to me. My kids, I feed them food. They spit it in my face. But when I get in my Model Y Performance, it lets me it lets me chirp the tires a little bit and have just a little bit of fun before the abuse cycle starts all over again. Now the hit in this, ready cameraman, stiffen up. I mean, it is crazy. The hit, 3.3 seconds, 510 horsepower. I think the torque's around 550 pound-feet on this thing. All right, so let's talk about the driving dynamics. So in dynamics here, we're on insane acceleration mode. Now, I was just talking to one of the chief engineers who worked on the NVH of this vehicle and setting it all up. So you want ride and handling to be in sport mode so it can adjust the adaptive dampers to prepare for the load for the speeds that you will be entering turns in. So the shocks are continuously adaptive depending on the surface that you are on. They have algorithms running in the vehicle constantly to decide what will bring you the most comfort and what will bring you the most performance when you're doing performance driving. I mean, this thing is like, you got to remember, the Nissan GT-R came out, and I think it was 2009 in the US. It was doing shocking performance numbers. Those numbers are now replicated in a family SUV. Okay? It's very safe. It can drive itself. It's all-wheel drive. It has launch control. It has a charging network, so you can drive it literally anywhere in the country without any issues. And the network is at like a 99.9 uptime. It gets software updates while your car is sitting in the garage at night. Then we need to talk about, okay, well, they're uncomfortable because the suspension is too tight and the 21-inch wheels are too much. Well, they've adjusted that too. It is now a comfortable vehicle. Heated and cooled seats. It has nice bolstering, has performance sport seats that you would want in your BMW M or your Mercedes AMG. Tesla now has developed nice bolstered seats to keep you in place because this thing can corner like a supercar. It's remarkable. And then you could go to a more aggressive tire and make it even better. You could go to forged wheels and lighten it up. And I'm sure Unplugged Performance will have all kinds of upgrades. And look, I love all kinds of vehicles. I've owned an M2, the Porsche Macan S. I had a Civic Si, Focus ST. I love gas cars and performance gas cars. But when you consider how cheap it is to run these and the performance that you're given and the full self-driving capability, it is unmatched in terms of value. The other thing that I haven't mentioned is this thing has a vehicle to load. I don't think I've mentioned that, but you can charge at 2.4 kilowatts outboard. And eventually, I think with a software update, you'll be able to back up your house off of the battery pack in the Model Y. I think the Cybertruck currently has that, but the Model Y Performance specifically can do vehicle to load charging. So I'm in my performance vehicle. It's driving me on these curvy back roads perfectly right now. I think it's just a really well done vehicle. I think it's near impossible to match the value of this. You think a Porsche Macan GTS, the Porsche Macan T starts at $70,000. That is a 4-cylinder. It's a VW, I think it's a Golf R engine in that thing, 260 horsepower. $70,000 for that. And it can't do a fraction. It's not as fast as this. It is a good looking vehicle. It can go further if you need to do road trips, but it doesn't have near the capability this has, and it's very expensive to maintain. This, you just need to change the tires and filters, and that's it. You can do it all very easily. So yeah, the upgrades that they've made to the Model Y Performance are pretty remarkable. And actually, I'm now seeing, if you can see on this camera angle here, you can actually see the upgraded quality in these darker shots here. So I am seeing the difference. To be honest, I couldn't really tell how much brighter or better the screen was. I could see it was more squared off, but now in these details when it's darker out, you can actually see what they've upgraded. Now the ride quality. Let's talk about the ride quality of this. We're on I would say an average US road, back road, and we're hitting some potholes. It's a little uneven, but it feels good. And that's the one trade-off that I hated with the previous Model Y Performance, was it was rough and loud on the inside. This still has the 360 acoustic glass. This car is 15 pounds lighter than the previous Model Y Performance. I think it's 4,466 pounds. So the ride quality is good. It's sporty. You're getting the rebound that you want to feel in a sportier vehicle. So you still have that, but it's not harsh. Like a BMW X3M is harsh in this sense, whereas this is it's very well sprung. As T-Pain said, I'm sprung. This is well sprung. So shout out to T-Pain for that. But yeah, as my car is driving me through here, and people will say, well, I don't want my car to drive me. I'll drive it. Yeah, but you have the option. I can turn this off. I can hit the brake and turn this off and then go crazy. So, sorry. We're killing cameraman here. We can't. And now we're back into full self-driving. So also, if you aren't aware, full self-driving does not come with the vehicle. It's either $99 a month as a subscription. So in the past, I've gotten it $99 and immediately canceled it and use it for a road trip. Or you can pay $8,000 outright, and that will give you full self-driving license for the life of the vehicle. And what Tesla has done in the past, I think they may be currently doing this too, is you can transfer that license in certain windows if you're buying another Tesla. They'll do that as an incentive to say, hey, if you buy a Tesla right now, you can transfer your FSD license. Personally, I think when you buy FSD, that should be like a license that carries with you throughout your lifetime of owning a Tesla. I think that would keep people more within the brand because they invested in it, and then they'll get to move that on to other vehicles. Now, how does this compare to a Model Y Premium or long range, the non-performance model? It is quicker. Now the non-performance model is still fast. I have the acceleration boost on mine, and we did a dyno on it to measure the horsepower and got 460 wheel horsepower out of that thing. So this has 510 and more torque. So you do feel the main difference is the steering is just tighter. The inputs are a little bit tighter. They've changed the bushings. They've changed the sway bars on this are a little bit thicker, but mainly the bushings of what have been changed. And it has 21-inch wheels, so there's a little bit more response out of the steering inputs. Steering wheel is the same, feels great. Ergonomically, your thumbs sit very nicely in this. It's a comfortable wheel to hold in your hands. And then the bolstering, as we're going around these tighter turns here, feels good. It's keeping me in place. I'm not going crazy right now, but it's certainly enough to make me happy and feel like something's different over the Model Y long range. The Model Y long range, though, I mean, it's still an incredible value. The fact that you get that much performance out of a non-performance model, but there are differences between the two. I'm now in the standard ride quality, but I kept it in insane mode for the maximum acceleration. And honestly, this is where you're going to live most of the time. It just tightens up there's a little bit more float when you're in this mode and you're driving aggressively. Whereas when you put it into sport, it tightens things up. So that way, when you go over an unsettling bump in the road, it's going to be less oscillation. Whereas this, you get a little bit more of that float. And personally, I kind of really like that because I'm not on a racetrack. I'm just on the road enjoying it. I kind of like that feeling more, but it's nice that it is adaptive. And this is the only Model Y currently with an adaptive suspension. So earlier I mentioned this car has launch control. So you see on the screen here under standard, it's not there. When you click to insane, it says launch mode available and it gives you directions on what to do. So you hold your foot down firmly, then you launch ready. Oh my goodness.
Now turn left onto Highway South.
Yeah, that's, I'm going to say the initial hit, it probably felt different to you in the passenger seat. Not as aggressive as I thought it would be, but still insane. I love that it gives you a notification that launch control is ready, and I love that they put that in the vehicle. Just a lot of performance cars have launch control. Just a nice thing to have and play around with. So we've put the traction control into the reduced setting, and I'm going to see if it'll let us break loose here. Yeah, it does give you that extra, not going to let you do like a full out donut, but it's also going to, it said ABS activated when that kicked in. So it does let you slide a little bit more. I'm sure in a track environment or a sporty road, once you get to learn the car more, it'll let you have a little bit more slip, but it's certainly more forgiving than with everything locked down. So is the Model Y Performance a good value? I think the answer is obviously yes. More importantly, though, they've addressed all of the things on the previous Model Y that made people complain, and I actually agree with a lot of those things. Not having enough range, it was a really stiff ride on what is essentially a family car. If you want the full-on performance, you have to go with the Model 3 Performance. But now they've blended the comfort and ergonomics and removed things that aren't being used like track mode and added things like 10.5% more range with a more dense battery, with an adaptive suspension and reduced traction mode that I think is all very useful. So I think they've done a really nice job of this. And I think in terms of a performance daily driver that has a ton of space that you could put your family in, the Model Y is very hard to beat, and especially the Model Y Performance. Now, if you're looking for accessories for your Model Y Performance, you're going to want to click this video right here, where I go through all of the accessories I've used for a long time on my Tesla Model Y.